listeners, and welcome to episode 171 of the Nigeria Football Weekly podcast. I'm your host, Okereke. Today, I've got another bumper episode for your listening pleasure as club football returned across the weekend in all the major leagues around the world and in Europe. Of course, we know how Nigeria performed in the last international window, so we live to fight another day. Sorry about the timing of this podcast. We were supposed to record on Monday, but I'm sure you heard about the AWS outage, which also affected our ability to upload and even record the podcast on the platform that we use. So bear with me. On today's episode, as usual, we'll be going through a few key talking points. So we'll be touching on Super Eagles' new ranking, the Super Falcons squad selection for their WAFCON qualifier taking place this Thursday and then on Monday. And then we'll also be touching on the 2025 CAF Award nominees, Women's Under-17 World Cup so far, the CAF Champions League results involving our Nigerian clubs, and standout performers for the week before doing our usual player reviews. So without any further ado, what's happened this week? First of all, Super Eagles ranking. So the Super Eagles have moved up from 45th to 41st in the world in terms of rankings. We've also moved back into the top 4 in the CAF rankings, going above Ivory Coast. We've moved back into the top 5, so we've gone above Ivory Coast and we're now 5th. Rankings have always been important, as I tried to explain to you guys all the time. You know, with this upward moment, it helps us even more. You know, when you think about your seeding for CAF AFCONs, for qualifiers for AFCON and the World Cup, which is why it's a shame that we're playing the playoffs, because we're the top ranked side in our group. South Africa were in pot 2, but yet they came above us. So those are things that you always have to take into mind. Also, all Nigerians watch Premier League football. A lot of the top leagues, to get a work permit or visa, if your team is in the top 50 ranked nations, it is a much easier process if you are from that country, even if you're not necessarily an international. You know, that's why Uche could go to Getafe at the time he went, for example. So these things all matter, and is why I will continue to bang the drum about rankings. Thank God the NFF have cancelled our friendlies against Colombia and Venezuela, because we know NFF of the past, maybe they'll go and send home-based players to go and lose 5-0, you know, and that will still affect your rankings. So it's good to see how this works. Anyway, provided we win our game against Gabon on November 13th based on our rankings, and we can beat either DR Congo or Cameroon on November 16th, if we can get that ticket as CAF's representative in the intercontinental playoffs, it is very simple. Nigeria will be one of the top 2 seeded teams. What does that mean? Rather than having to play 2 games in March next year to qualify for the World Cup, you only have to play 1 game. There will be 6 teams involved in the playoffs in March. There will be 2 separate brackets. The 4 bottom ranked teams will first play each other, and then the winner of both of those games, 1 each and 1 each, will then go and play the top 2 ranked sides. At the moment, it's looking like it will be Nigeria and Costa Rica. But when you look at all the teams involved in potential qualifiers or intercontinental federation playoffs, it's very likely Nigeria will be one of the top 2 seeds, assuming we can get past Gabon and beat their Congo versus Cameroon. There's a world where you can even say that the CAF leg taking place in November should be more tricky based on the strength of the team and how tough it is just in general playing against African teams with the physicality. But anyway, it's really good to see. Please note, I did a video on how exactly the playoffs will work, so make sure you check that out as well. But overall, always positive to see the Super Eagles move up in rankings. With the players we have, I keep on saying it, we should be a top 20 nation in the world. Easily. At least when it comes to our national team. Yes, we know the age groups right now are suffering, both the men's side and women's side. But our Super Eagles, they have to be there. But for now, we take our 41st and we see what we can do in the November playoffs and in AFCON. If both of them go well and we can make the semi-final or even the final or win AFCON again, then I have no doubts that we'll be in the top 25 or at least the top 30 come the end of January. So watch this space and let's see how our players can continue to do. The good news is we have a lot of competitive games to play between now and the end of January, you know, with AFCON. So we have a lot of opportunities to continue to boost our world ranking, and it is very, 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 very paramount. So that's it for that one. Also, the Super Falcons will be back in action in the WAFCON 2026 qualifiers. They will play Benin away on Thursday, the 23rd of October. and then they will then play the return leg on Monday, October 27th, likely in Ikene, because that's where the women's team play a lot of their games. I believe that's Remo Star's home ground. What does the squad list look like? Chiamaka Nnadozie has been called up. Andeline, Mbechi, Rachel, Onachukwu, all goalkeepers. Osinachi Ohale, Shikurat Oladipo, a lot of usual names. Michelle Alozie, Ashley Plumpter, Miraculusani, Oluwatosi Demei, and we've seen a maiden call-up for Blessing, Elivieda. Midfield, a lot of the usual suspects as well. Rasheedat Ajibade, Deborah Abiodun, Jennifer Chegini, and Christy Uchebe. And then there's also been a new addition in the form of Taiwo Afolabi. In the forward line as well, a lot of the usual suspects you would normally expect. Chiwedu Hezuo, Esther Okoronkwo, of course, our superstar from WAFCON. Folashade Jamilusi, fantastic goal in the final, remember. And the veteran Asisat Oshola has been called up. There are two new names in the group, Joy Omewa and Kafayat Mafishere. So pretty interesting lineup. One thing that must be said though is there's a very inexplicable snub happening yet again for the NWSL player Gift Monday, who's been playing very well for Washington Spirits. She's also the teammate of Deborah Abiodun. She was inexplicably left out of the squad for WAFCON. And we seem to see this thing with NFF where they do this thing to the women's team where I don't know if someone is a bit vocal or calls out the rubbish that they are doing or just even questions the fact they were not selected. It's as if the NFF tried to punish the player. Because objectively, there's no way you can tell me Joy Omewa, Kafayat Mafishere, even Asisat Oshola, who looks way beyond her best, way past her best. None of those players deserve to be called up over a Gift Monday. So that one is quite an interesting thing to see. She scored 8 goals for Washington Spirits this season, a tally that makes her one of the league's best finishers and comfortably ahead of most strikers called up in the Nigeria squad. But despite this, we've seen Justin Madugu did not call her up, so it's a very interesting one, But shout out to ESPN for their article where she said she'll keep fighting for her spot in the national team. Very, very interesting one. You can also argue that it's also been a snub that Edna Imade was left out of the squad. She's one of the top goal scorers in the Spanish Liga at the moment for Real Sociedad. She scored a lot of goals last season as well. So once again, I always say to you guys, this is why any normal, credible national team, you have press conference and explain your selection so we can understand. If you say it's continuity that made you not invite Give Monday, at least we can explain. You can explain to us and we can understand. But now, what's that our player that Onumono has already retired? Yes, Okoronkwo is in the squad, Hezuo is in the squad, and Ijami Lucia in the squad. They'll play a lot of minutes, and Ajibade too. But you cannot tell me that on merit, Gift Monday does not deserve to be in the squad. That is just not true, But Niger, we like to do certain things in a certain way. So we'll see how it happens anyway. But look out for the game. So the game on Thursday will be played in Lome at the Stade Kegwe, as Benin Lake CAF approved stadium. And then the return leg will be on October 28th, as I said, in Abeokuta, Nigeria, not Ikene. So forgive me for that slip off. Of course, Nigeria, overwhelming favorites, qualify for the 2026 WAFCON. It will be played in March in Morocco yet again. Everything is going to happen in Morocco. But the key thing to note about these qualifiers is this next WAFCON will also double down as the qualifiers for the next World Cup taking place in Brazil in 2027. So very, very important for the Super Falcons, and there's no room for slacking at all. But when you look at our squad, to be honest, from goalkeeper Nnadozie to even the defense with Plumpter and Michelle Alozie, or even in midfield with Deborah Abiodun and Echegini and Uchebe as well, you have to say we have what it takes to continue dominating women's football, at least when it comes to the highest level in Africa. So we wish the women all the best, and of course we'll bring you the update on how the game goes on Thursday. Also, CAF have released the nominations for the 2025 CAF Awards. This was announced last week. I've only seen the women's nominees so far. I don't think they've released the men's nominees, but I'll be sure to bring that to your listening pleasure when that happens. At the moment, we've seen Rasheedat Ajibade and Esther Okoronkwo are both nominated for the CAF Women's Player of the Year. Both well deserved. To be honest, left to me, I think Esther Okoronkwo deserves to be named CAF Player of the Year. When you look at her exploits at AFCON and what she did, in terms of her goal scoring numbers, her assist numbers, and just her overall gameplay, and she just won the league in her Canadian team literally a few days ago. So this is a player. There's a world where I can see them giving it to Ajibade because obviously she was named the player of the tournament, which was a bit interesting for me. But let's continue to support our girls and let's see. As long as one of them win it, I will not be mad. Bayelsa Queens have also been nominated for Women's Club of the Year. So good luck to them. The Super Falcons and the Under-17 team, the Flamingos, have been nominated for National Team of the Year. Shukurat Moshood has been nominated for the Women's Young Player of the Year. She's the Under-17 team captain. While Chiamaka Nnadozie has been nominated for Goalkeeper of the Year, and you would expect her to win that award for the third time in a row. And then the national team coach, Justin Madugu, has been nominated for Coach of the Year. So good luck to all our players, and you would expect in most of these categories for our nominated person to win, especially because Nigeria won the WAFCON this year. So, it's always tied to big tournaments, especially, obviously taking into account your club form, but when there's big tournaments on the region or globally, it will obviously have a much bigger say in who wins the award. Now, speaking of the Women's Under-17 World Cup, the Flamingos they kicked off their tournament on Sunday against Canada. They got absolutely thrashed 4-1. At halftime, it was 1-1. So this is just what I'm saying about, at the end of the day, if you do not fix the roots, the tree will eventually fall. Yes, we are lucky we have population and we have natural talent for football and a lot of players. But when you watch the way this Under-17 team got disgraced, it's not looking good, bruv. To make matters worse, our next game will be tomorrow, Wednesday, at 5 p.m. against France. We know France, when it comes to women's football, they're one of the better teams as well, even though they've not ended up with any real trophies both in Europe and in the world. But you know that they're stacked with talent, especially in the women's side. I mean, men's, of course, but women's as well. Lyon, Paris, you go smell them. And then we play Samoa on Saturday at 5 p.m. Now, if we do not at least get a draw against France, it means Nigeria will be out of the tournament. So we wish the team good luck. It's not looking good so far, but we'll see what happens and we'll report on the performance as and when it happens. Also, by the way, congratulations to the Moroccan Under-20 men's team for winning the Under-20 World Cup. It's the second time an African team has won the World Cup. The first time was the Anje Ayew team with Dominic Adia, I believe in 2009. That was a big moment. And of course, you saw how that spurred them on in the 2010 World Cup because they could call at least 2 or 3 of those players from that team to then move up to the World Cup squad. When you look at Morocco now, Morocco already have arguably one of, if not the best squad in Africa. Them, Senegal and Nigeria, you can always weigh certain things in each other's favor. We have the best striker, no problem. We probably have the best attack with Lookman as well. But at the end of the day, when you look at Morocco's spine throughout the team, and also the way they're able to call their diaspora, whether it's the Brahim Diaz's of the world. Of course, even Hakimi was born and raised in Spain, but you see how he performs for the country. Yashin Bono, they have players in every position that they need, while they chased their first AFCON since 1970 on home soil this December. But all of a sudden now, going into AFCON and going to the World Cup, the best player in the Under-20 World Cup was Moroccan. The second best player in the Under-20 World Cup was Moroccan. So now they have a pool that they can even pick for and naturally progress into the Olympic squad for 2028. But some of them are probably already good enough to even make the main Moroccan squad, or at least be considered by Walid Regragui, already. So this is why you cannot neglect your underage teams. So shout out to Morocco for showing us the way. Hopefully we will learn one day or we'll continue to lament. The ball is in your court, Mr. Gusau and NFF. Let us know what you do. All we hear is you got FIFA appointments. You tell us now with some video of you saying that, we are doing all we can for the team to prepare. You are signing us like Pinnick. Why do you not do all you could do for the team to prepare during the actual World Cup qualifiers? A team like Nigeria should not have been in the playoffs or celebrating 4-0 like that. But that's the predicament we're in. So we'll see what you can end up doing for us, and we'll see how we prosecute these games in November. I do know that the team will end up in Morocco on the 9th of November. So the good news about that is we will have, our game is on the 13th. So 9, 10, 11, 12. 4 whole days to prepare for the game against Gabon. And let's be honest, with Morocco being at the edge of Europe, just beside Spain, it means it's a much shorter flight for our players. So when you even think of things like jet lag or players coming into camp late, there's no excuse. Even if they somehow call up Alassane Youssouf, who has done nothing in MLS again, finding his way to Morocco is easier than going to South Africa. So it should all work in our favor. Also, just to speak on the CAF Champions League, Remo Stars lost 5-1 at home to Mamelodi Sundowns on Sunday. It was an absolute thrashing. Obviously, we know Mamelodi Sundowns are one of the giants of Africa. We saw they performed in the Club World Cup, even though they went out in the group stage. You know, they're regulars in the latter stages of the CAF Champions League. You know, it's just standard procedure for them. And a lot of their players played for the national team of South Africa. Whereas Remo Stars, we know Nigeria, based on how bad our league is, I always tell people it's the 12th best league in Africa. The 12th best league in Europe are countries like Greece. Like when you think about the Austrian league, compare the level of those leagues to Premier League, just to explain the gap. You know, and most of our best players, they're already picked up before they play in the NPFL, because it makes sense for it's really the academies in Nigeria making money. FC Ebedi, those other likes of them. So all our best talents, from when they are 17, 18, they've already moved to Europe. They're already forging their path ahead in Europe. So whoever has left in the league, let's be honest, is not like they're the best at all. They're the best of a bad bunch, let's be honest. You know, so all of you that like to shout home-based, 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 Remo Stars are the champions of Nigeria, and they got thrashed 5-1 by Mamelodi Sundowns. Even their president expected that they'll get thrashed by Mamelodi Sundowns. So guys, this is what I always tell you, be objective. When Nigeria, bad things happen to the Super Eagles, those of you without any critical thinking, the first thing you jump on is, oh, these people don't have hearts, they are foreign based. What the hell are you talking about? The people that are saying they don't have hearts, those ones too are dying to have a foreign passport too, so they can leave Nigeria. So which one is it? Pick one. Because now, see what the home base are doing. See how they're disgracing us. Later, you shout that they must come into the national team. When you have a pool of over 100 players playing in Europe, they should not pick those ones doing well in great teams. You say they don't understand terrain. So Remo Stars understanding terrain. Why they lose 5-1 at home? Please explain to me. Second leg South Africa next week Sunday, but of course, yet again is like the hope of a Nigerian team making the CAF Champions League group stage for the first time since 2019 continues. It looks like it will continue yet again. Well, there is slight hope for Rivers United. They lost 1-0 away to Black Bulls Maputo, who are a team from Mozambique. So hopefully they can turn it around on Saturday when they play at home. But when you look at Rivers United performances even in the league, you know, I wouldn't, if I was a betting man, I would not put money on it. But hopefully Rivers United can buck the trend and somehow make the CAF Champions League group stage. So let's see how that one shakes out. Standout performance for this week. It was not the best week in terms of our people balling out like that. But at the moment, there's one person that will continue to ball out because he has found a place where he's very happy. And I like to tell you people, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Polonoachu in Turkey is playing against Minos, and he's just bullying them week in, week out. Week in, week out. Polonoachu in the Turkish League or Belgian League is like Thanos. But once he comes to play in the Big 5 leagues, you'll be watching that. Who's this big for nothing guy? Well, that might have sounded harsh, but I don't mean it in a bad way. My point is, Polonoachu scored his 7th league goal of the season and remains the top goal scorer in Turkey after 9 games as Trabzonspor beat Eyüpspor. I believe it was 2-0, 3-0 over the weekend. So shout out to you, Polonoachu, for all your exploits, and long may it continue. Who knows? I think it'll be tricky because of continuity, but he may perform so well that he cannot be ignored and may have to be called up as a backup option for AFCON. At the last AFCON, he was in our squad. You know, as we do the run-off to AFCON, I'll do some deep dives about our squad in the last AFCON, who we can expect to stay from that tournament for continuity, who we can expect to come in and stuff like that. But keep watching this space on Onoachu, and long may the good performances continue. Also, Rafiu Durosimi, he scored the only goal of the game for Victoria Pilsen on Saturday in their league win. He has now scored 10 goals this season, 5 league goals, 2 in the Europa League, 2 in the Champions League qualifiers, and 1 in the Czech Cup. I've said it before. Mark this man. He is coming. He's not going to stay in the Czech Republic League for a long time. And he's still very young, so the world is his oyster. But let's see how it keeps going. But he continues to bag goals. And when you've scored 10 goals for the season in October already, after 3 months of the season, you're clearly doing something right. So shout out to you, Rafiu Durosimi, for your performances over the weekend. So without any further ado, going into the usual player reviews and starting with the Fulham boys. The Fulham boys were in action over the weekend against my beloved Arsenal. Unfortunately for them, we actually managed to beat them, which I'm not mad at all. We beat them by 1-0. Chukwueze was not in this squad. I think he was nursing an injury from the Nigeria game. Bassey actually did not start this game. I don't know if it was jet lag or a knock he picked up in Nigeria's game against Benin. But it's very rare that Bassey does not start games. You know, even when Anderson got injured, they brought on Onyeka rather than Bassey. So I hope it's not an issue with the manager, or maybe he's just managing his workload. Iwobi, as usual, played 90 minutes, and it was his 299th Premier League appearance, the most ever for a Nigerian player. So he's gone past Shola Ameobi. So the next match for Fulham away at St. James's Park on Saturday at 3 p.m. will be a monumental one for Iwobi. Iwobi will be making his 300th Premier League appearance. And when you consider Iwobi's journey from Arsenal to Everton to Fulham, you have to say that that is a monumental achievement. He played 100 Premier League appearances for Arsenal, 123 appearances for Everton, and he will make his 77th appearance for Fulham in the Premier League this weekend. The good news also is he scored by far the most goals for Fulham. He scored 15 goals. He scored 11 for Arsenal and 6 for Everton. But even more impressive is the fact that Iwobi also remains the most capped current Super Eagles player with 89 caps. There's a world where by the time we play 2 games in November and by God's grace 7 in AFCON, that match qualifier would literally be Iwobi's 100th appearance for the Super Eagles, as long as there's no injury concern. So just a monumental achievement, and we wish the Fulham boys well. Now I can wish them well with my chest, because they're not playing Arsenal again. So good luck to the boys. Onyeka, on the other hand, was on the bench as Brentford beat West Ham 2-0 on Monday. Very, very good performance from Brentford. Thiago, that guy looks like a striker. He almost even scored a brace, but one was ruled out for VAR. But next up for Brentford, the 13th, they host Liverpool at home. Obviously, Liverpool, 4 straight losses in all competitions, 3 straight losses in the Premier League. So let's see what they can do against Brentford. This game will not be as easy as people think for Liverpool, and I'm hoping that Brentford can do us now yet another favour. Let's do London Alliance now. Help us. As for Christian's Uche in Crystal Palace, although Crystal Palace are riding high, they're 8th in the league. Christian's Uche was not in the squad for Crystal Palace's 3-3 draw against Bournemouth on Saturday. What an amazing game of football to watch. I hope you guys saw it. And Semenyo, oh my God, Ghana, you got a baller on your hands, man. Wow. Anyway, next up for Crystal Palace, they play in the Conference League on Thursday against AEK Larnaca. So let's hope that Uche can get some minutes in this game, because it's beginning to look pretty dire. For him not to even be in the squad, that's not good news. Next up for Palace as well, they play Arsenal in the league away on Sunday, 3 p.m. Nigeria time, and that's because the clocks will be going back. So England will officially be 1 hour behind Nigeria from this Sunday, I believe from this Sunday going forward. But it's very unlikely Uche will play minutes at Arsenal in the Premier League. You know, everybody has to respect Gunners, you know, big club. But I'm hoping in the Conference League, at the very least, he can start a match or get considerable minutes, because he needs it. At the current trajectory, look, this is a player I personally love. You people know how long I've been championing him. But at the moment, if he doesn't keep playing games, he's not going to get to the Nigeria squad, and he's not going to make it to AFCON. So we need to see things. In fact, there's a world where I wish he just stayed at Getafe and was balling, because we know that he would have been starting all games, but God knows best. And hopefully he can click soon, and Glasner will find a way to play him, because let's be honest, if Uche plays in that Crystal Palace side and continues and flourishes alongside them, it's going to be very good for his career and his rep. So fingers crossed. Also, you can see this trend of a lot of our players not playing this week, apart from Iwobi. Arokodare also came off the bench to play 14 minutes. Wolves lost 2-0 to Sunderland on Saturday away. Wolves are by far the worst team in the Premier League. They have 2 points after 8 games, and I won't lie to you, it's not looking good, man. Arokodare, I understand the move. Like I've told you guys before, he's having one good season in his career. When I say good, I mean very impressive season as a striker, which was last season in Belgium. So I understand he had to take the move to Wolves, and we're hoping it will work out well for him. But I'll be honest, it's not looking good right now, man. Wolves look like they're absolutely lost for ideas. Strand Larsen, their main striker, is even struggling to score goals. So how with Arokodare, it's going to be a tough one. But anyway, they live to fight another day. They play Burnley at home on Sunday. Now, if Wolves have any hope of turning around their season, this is the kind of game they have to be winning. But if they don't win, then we might as well start counting Wolves as one of the teams that will be relegated, in all honesty. Nottingham Forest also are in the relegation zone, currently 18th. Remember, Aina is currently injured, but Awoniyi surprisingly started 45 minutes in their 3-0 loss to Chelsea in the early kickoff on Saturday. It was interesting to see Awoniyi start because I didn't expect that at all. To be honest, it was and Postecoglou's last game. Nottingham Forest were always going to get battered in that game, and they were really, really dire. You know, the good news for them is they've now appointed Sean Dyche as their new manager as at yesterday, and I know he took training yesterday, including seeing Awoniyi and co smiling. Next up for them, they play Porto at home in the Europa League this Thursday. So let's see if Awoniyi can get some more minutes in that game. And then they go away to play Bournemouth, and you know Andoni Iraola's team are flying high. They're currently fourth in the Premier League. Joined third with Liverpool. I mean, literally same exact total points as Liverpool. So that will not be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. So that's it in terms of the Premier League games involving our Nigerian players. Other games that I've not spoken about for your listening pleasure: Burnley beat Leeds United 2-0. Very good game for them. The Nigeria eligible player Leslie Gochukwu scored the first goal in this game. So want to monitor, man. I don't know why he's wasting time. He should better go and speak to NFF. Brighton beat Newcastle 2-1. Danny Welbeck turning back the hands of time with a lovely brace in that game. Walter Marder looks really good. He scored a very good goal again. His 4th goal in 5 Premier League games for Newcastle, although they lost yet again away from home. Man City beat Everton 2-0. Erling Haaland with yet another brace. Fantastic performance from him as usual. Of course, I spoke about my Arsenal boys and what we did to Fulham. And thank God for Tottenham always showing us their true colours. Tottenham lost at home to Aston Villa by 2-1. Oh my God, you need to check out the goal from Emiliano Buendia. Fantastic winner, you know, and just a great performance. And in the shock of the weekend, but very, very pleasant shock, Manchester United went to Liverpool and snatched their chain. Fantastic performance. After 2 minutes, Mbeumo already pulled Man United up. Liverpool got the equalizer through Gakpo in around the 70th minute mark, but Man United were not to be denied. Big hammerhead Harry Maguire with the header to make it 2-1 to Man United, and it was their first win at Anfield in well over 10 years, I believe. It's not every day Man United go to Anfield. Even us now, when last did we win there? But Man United, God bless you, man. All of a sudden, it's not looking so bad. But I really want to thank you for the drop points and for helping Arsenal, so shout out to you. Fixtures to be aware about for the weekend. If you play fancy football, mind you, I'm a very serious FPL player. There's a world where I may start doing a series around FPL. At the moment, I'm ranked 25,000 in the world, so pretty good, you know. But let me know, maybe this could be something we expand on post-AFCON, after AFCON. But let me know if you like seeing any FPL content. I don't know how big the FPL community in Nigeria is, but in England, it's very, very massive, you know. But if you play FPL, do your team before Friday, 6 p.m. deadline. There's a Friday night game. Leeds United will be hosting West Ham United at Elland Road. So remember that. There will be no early kickoff on Saturday, but there'll be a late game. So remember, the clocks will go back on Sunday, but on Saturday, there are going to be 2 3 p.m. games. Chelsea hosts Sunderland at Stamford Bridge, and Newcastle hosts Fulham at St. James's Park. Now, the 5:30 kickoff game on Saturday will see Manchester United host Brighton at Old Trafford. Those of you who are Man United fans, trust me, as one of your biggest haters, I'm aware of how much Brighton beat you people at home. Brighton go to Old Trafford and act like they own that place. I remember Welbeck and co beating them 3-0 last year, I think in January. So, Man United, now that you have back-to-back wins, can you finally build on the momentum? When you beat Chelsea, you went to go and play nonsense against Brentford. Now you have beaten Liverpool. And look at Brighton, they are hitting up well again. but we shall see. It will be a very interesting game to watch. And then the late night kickoff at 8 p.m. on Saturday, we'll see Brentford host Liverpool at the GTEC Stadium. And then on Sunday, remember, it will now be 3 p.m. Nigeria time. So Wolves will host Burnley. Arsenal will host Crystal Palace at the Emirates. Aston Villa will host Man City at Villa Park. Bournemouth will host Nottingham Forest. All of those 4 games will take place at 3 p.m. Nigeria time, which will be 2 p.m. UK time at the same time. And then the late kickoff on Sunday will then see Everton play at home in their new stadium against Tottenham. So that should be a good game to see Tottenham drop some more points. So I'm very pleased to say, what's the table looking like? Arsenal top of the league, 8 games played, 6 games won, 1 draw to Man City. We take it. 1 loss, 1-0 to Liverpool. Even more impressive for me, we've scored 15 goals and conceded only 3 goals after 8 games. And only 1 goal from open play. When you really dip it, that Haaland goal in the first few minutes against Arsenal at Emirates. Votemada scored from a corner. Szoboszlai scored that crazy free kick. Those are the only goals we've conceded this whole season in all our games. Champions League combined, Port Vale. So I'm really loving our defensive solidity, and I hope it continues. We need our attack to click more for sure, but very, very happy with where we currently stand. So we're 3 points ahead of Man City, who are second in 16 points, and then Liverpool and Bournemouth are joint third with the exact same goal difference, goals scored, goals against, and points. Although Bournemouth have only lost 1 game, but they've drawn 3, whereas Liverpool have won 5 games and lost 3. Chelsea, Tottenham, and Sunderland then make up 5th, 6th, and 7th, all on 14 points. So it looks like it's going to be a tight season. Crystal Palace and Man United are 8th and 9th with 13 points. So somehow, all of a sudden, Man United are only 3 points behind Man City in 2nd place. Yes, they're 6 points behind Arsenal, but, us, we're a different stratosphere. Okay, let me not be too cocky about that one. Anyway, Brighton and Villa 10 and 11 on 12 points, and then Everton 12 to 11 points, and Brentford 13th on 10 points. The whole point is, this season, a lot of teams are showing that they're going to be competitive, and it's been very good to see the newly promoted teams do well. Sunderland 7th, Leeds are 16th, Burnley are 17th. So right now, none of the newly promoted teams are in relegation zone. Nottingham Forest, West Ham, and Wolves are currently in the relegation zone, and you can even see signs of life in Forest and potentially West Ham, depending on what Nuno Espirito Santo and Sean Dyche are able to do. But Wolves, they need something to click for them ASAP. So that's it for the Premier League. In Serie A, Lookman started yet again for Atalanta. Played its 2 minutes, but they drew 0-0 against Lazio. Very, very bad result. Next up for him, they play Slavia Prague in the Champions League on Wednesday, tomorrow, 8 p.m. Make sure you watch that game. And then in the league, they play Cremonese away. So we'll be playing against David Okereke, although David Okereke has been injured and not played since their first 2 games of the season. As for Ebenezer Akinsanmiro, he played 90 minutes and got a yellow card. Pisa battled to a 0-0 draw against Gift Urban's Verona on Saturday. Next up for Pisa, it doesn't get any easier. They're going to play the league leaders AC Milan at San Siro on Friday, 7:45 p.m. But good to see Akinsanmiro continue to start games, which is the most important thing for his development at this stage of his career. Speaking of Verona, Gift Urban played 67 minutes in that game in the 0-0 draw. Next up for him, he'll play Cagliari at home. After his performance against Juventus, he's had 2 very bad performances. So he's a very inconsistent player, has to be said. But hopefully he can get some form against Cagliari. And in very, very positive developments, I am pleased to say that Maduka Okoye returned for Udinese after his suspension and went straight back into the starting lineup. Played 90 minutes for Udinese yesterday and made 2 saves in a 1-1 draw against Cremonese last night. Next up for the goalkeeper, they play Lecce at home on Saturday. You guys already know my thoughts on Maduka Okoye. There is no excuse to not have this guy in the Nigerian national team squad. Nobody can continue as first choice, but he needs that competition and needs to know that Okoye is right there, ready to snatch his chain should he mess up. That's all I'll say on that matter. In La Liga, Akko Adams came off the bench to play 19 minutes at Sevilla. Sevilla is such an interesting team. They beat Barcelona the other day 4-1. Now they lost at home to Real Mallorca at home. Very, very bad performance. Ejuke came on in the 88th minute in this game. Not good at all. Next up for them, they play Real Sociedad away, which is Omar Sadiq's team on Friday, 8 p.m. Speaking of Omar Sadiq, he's not been in squad for Real Sociedad recently, and he was not in the squad on the weekend in the 1-1 draw against Celta Vigo. Let's see if he at least makes the squad when they play Sevilla on Friday night. In the Bundesliga, Nathan Teller was not in squad for Leverkusen for their 4-3 win over Mainz on Saturday. We know that he was returning from injury, so we'd expect him to at least make the squad for their game tonight against PSG at home, 8 p.m. If not, we'll expect him to be in the squad when they play Freiburg at home on Sunday, 3:30 p.m. Nigeria time. Speaking of Werder Bremen, Felix Agu is injured, but Victor Boniface was yet again a substitute. He came on and played 21 minutes in their 2-2 draw against Heidenheim. Still looking for his first goal for his new club and yet to start a game. So we'll keep wishing him good luck. Next up, they play Union Berlin at home on Friday. So let's see what happens. But I don't expect Boniface to start, but we wish him well. Kevin Agbogma was not in the squad for Hoffenheim in the 3-0 win over St. Pauli. Let's see if he makes the squad when they play Heidenheim at home on Saturday. And then Jordan Tonariga was on the bench for Hamburg in their 2-1 loss to Leipzig on Saturday. Let's see if he can get some minutes when they play Wolfsburg at home this coming Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Moving on to League One, Terry Murphy is out with the calf injury sustained on at international break, and he's expected back in early November. It's quite unfortunate the timing of his injury when you see that he was just going to get form for Nice. He had just been recalled back in the Super Eagles squad, to now get injured again. Also, with him coming back in early November, it's quite unlikely that he'll be called up for the squad to play against Gabon, which is good because at least we can see some balance in the national team. If you're going to call up Osimhen, Ako Adams, and Arokodare, or at this point, you may even have to be on Wachu rather than Arokodare, or even Iheanacho. You have 3 strikers. Then just do the needful and call up 2 wingers on each side. You have Lookman and Simon already. You have Chukwueze. Potentially, you want to call up Nathan Teller, no problem. But it's better to have more wingers than strikers. You could potentially call up a Philippe Otele. Is Dele-Bashiru going to be back fit? Of course, you call up Dele-Bashiru and maybe Iwobi as your camps. All that then means is you can call up Ndidi, Onyeka, and Onyeka as central midfielders, and finally blood in an Akinsanmiro or an Anthony Dennis rather than calling Alassane Yusuf. But let's see what happens. But there's good omens for some of these players, and hopefully we can see what that will look like. But it looks like Terry Murphy, it will be a bit too early for him to play the November game. As for Moses Simon, he played 63 minutes for Paris FC as they lost 2-1 to Lens on Sunday. Next up for them, they play Nantes at home on Friday, 7:45 p.m. Speaking of Nantes, Chidozie Awoniyi continues to start games. It's so inexplicable to me that he was not called up considering the dire situation of a centre-back situation. Unless Igor Ubo is back fit, you should call Awoniyi over even Eshemi Ajayi, in my opinion. But that's a story for another day. But Awoniyi continues to start, although Nantes did lose 2-0 to Lille on Sunday. Next up for them, he plays Paris FC, so we'll see Simon play against Awoniyi. As for George Onyeka, he played 6 minutes in Monaco's 1-1 draw against Angers on Saturday. He will be in action against Tottenham in the Champions League at home tomorrow, Wednesday. And then in the league, Monaco played Toulouse at home on Saturday. As for Hamzat Ojediran, shout out to Hamzat Ojediran. He saw our video with Odumodu Black. We appreciate the love, and hopefully one of these days we can come down to come and support you. And who knows, maybe we get an interview. But unfortunately, this weekend he was on new sub on the bench as Lens beat Paris FC 2-1. Lens are flying high in the league. They're currently 4th in the league. But I really hope Hamzat can at least get into the good books of the manager and play really good minutes, because especially when you're a central midfielder, there's nothing like getting that kind of education in League One. They have the best central midfielders a lot of the times, especially the young ones. When you think about it, who then go on to all the other leagues and we pick them off. So let's see what happens for Hamzat. Next up for Lens, they play Marseille at home. Marseille are currently top of the league, so that should be a very interesting top of the table clash, and we wish Hamzat all the best. In Portugal, Zedu Sanusi was not in the squad in Porto's 4-0 win over Celoricense on Saturday in the Taça de Portugal, which is the Portuguese Cup. However, would expect him to be back into the squad for the Europa League game against Nottingham Forest away. So good chance to see Zedu Sanusi playing in England, and then they'll play Moreirense away in the league on Monday. In Belgium, we know Onyeka is still injured, so we wish him quick all the best with his recovery. Girasoro, on the other hand, played 45 minutes for Genk in a 2-2 draw against Cercle Bruges on Sunday. He will also be in action in Europa League as they play Real Betis at home on Thursday, and then they play RAL La Louvain at home on Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Nigeria time. As for Super Eagles sensation, Benjamin Frederick, he came off the bench to play 19 minutes as FCV Denda lost 3-1 to KV Mechelen on Sunday. Next up for his club, they play West Lou away on Saturday, although they remain 16th out of 18 teams. This is such an interesting situation. It's almost like, do you remember James Rodriguez when he will be bowling for Colombia? But his club career is just nowhere, nothing to be written about. It's so funny because when you watch Frederick play for Nigeria, there's no doubt or debate. You can see the talent, and he's playing for the national team under huge pressure. But then playing for the 16th best team in Belgium, he will start most of the time, but the coach will not start him sometimes. It's quite an interesting, situation when you really look at it. But we continue to wish him well, and make no mistake about it, he's the future of our defense alongside Bassey. So keep up the good work, Frederick. In Turkey, superstar Victor Osimhen played 16 minutes on Saturday as Galatasaray beat Istanbul Başakşehir 2-1, probably trying to manage his load after coming back from scoring a hat-trick for Nigeria. But we'll fully expect him to start tomorrow in the Champions League as Galatasaray play Bodo Glimt at home at a 5:45 p.m. kickoff. That's going to be a tough game. We all know how good Bodo Glimt are. We saw them draw against Tottenham the last round, but they should have beaten Tottenham. But of course, we always back our superstar, and we need him fit and firing ahead of the playoffs in November. Now, next up for them, after that game, they'll play Anthony Dennis's Gotsepe at home on Sunday. So please watch this game, Galatasaray versus Gotsepe. Speaking of Anthony Dennis, he was suspended for Gotsepe's 1-0 loss to Alanyaspor on Sunday. You could say maybe it's the omen that made them lose. So he'll be back into the team straight away as they go away to play the best team in the land in Galatasaray. Sunday, 3 p.m. Nigeria time. This game should be available on ESPN. I already spoke about Polonachu's exploits for Trabzonspor in their 2-1 win over Rizespor on Saturday. Sorry, I said Eyüpspor earlier. That was a slip of the tongue. They will be playing Eyüpspor at home on Saturday, though, at 6 p.m. So Onachu should be able to continue his good form. As for Wilfred Ndidi, he did play 90 minutes as Besiktas lost 2-1 to Gen Klebrigi. That's the team where Etebo is in their squad, and also Tom Dele-Bashiru is also now in that team in Turkey. They just got promoted. So one to monitor. We'll see how it does. Tom Dele-Bashiru actually played 90 minutes for the opponents in this game, and they got the 2-1 win. But next up for Ndidi and Besiktas, they play Konyaspor away on Wednesday, 6 p.m. tomorrow, and then they play Kashim Pasha away on Sunday. Now, to round up the final leagues in Czech Republic, Igor Ugbo was not in the squad as he recovers from injury, but David Moses played 45 minutes for Slavia Prague in a 0-0 draw against FC Zayn on Saturday. They will be in Champions League action tomorrow away against Atalanta. So let's see if David Moses can get some minutes, and let's see if Igor Ugbo makes the squad, as I know he's almost back from injury, or should be. And then in the league, they'll play Sigma Olomouc. I already spoke about Rafiu Dorosimi's exploit, scoring the winner for Victoria Pilsen over Bohemians 1905 over the weekend, which was his 10th goal of the season in all competitions. He will be in action in the Europa League away against Roma on Thursday, so that should be a good game. When you're playing a high-level opponent, it's always a chance to show your credentials and put them on the table. And then they play Baník Ostrava at home on Sunday. And then finally, for the top team in Czech Republic, Emanuel Uche played 90 minutes for Sparta Prague as they drew 0-0 against Slovakia on Sunday. They will also be in action in Europe this week in the Conference League on Thursday, playing against Rijeka away. And then in the league, they will play Bohemians 1905 at home on Sunday, 3:30 p.m. Nigeria time. In the Greek League, good to see Onyeka finally getting some minutes. He came off the bench to play 32 minutes for Olympiacos in their 2-0 win over AE Larisa on Saturday. Olympiacos have one of the big ultimate tests in football. They go away to play Barcelona tonight, 8 p.m. Let's see if Onyeka can at least get off the bench and make his Champions League debut. I'm not sure if he played in the first Champions League game they played, but I know it was on new sub when they played Arsenal. So it doesn't get any bigger than having to mark. He will literally be the one marking Lamine Yamal if he plays. So it'll be a very interesting matchup to watch, but let's see if he gets some game time tonight. And then they play AEK Athens at home on Sunday in what is a big clash of two giants of the league. Panathinaikos, Desert still injured, but let's see if he makes it back to play against one of his former sides, Feyenoord, away on Thursday in the Europa League. And then they play Asteris Tripolis at home, so we'll watch the space and see if he's back from injury. In Scotland, Kelechi Iheanacho, oh my God, I don't know what's going on in Scotland, man. Celtic and Rangers are absolute dog shit. Celtic lost 2-0 to Dundee FC on Sunday away. So Dundee are now first in the league and Celtic are second. It's things we have not heard before. It's like when Ajax are not dominating the Dutch league. Like, what's going on, man? Rangers are literally closer to the relegation zone than the top of the Scottish league. So if Celtic and Rangers are not doing well, I'm sorry, it's good to see other teams doing well, but it smells trouble for the overall health of the league. But none of these teams made the Champions League. The Celtic are playing Europa League and they're doing okay. But if they go down even further, that could really affect Scotland's coefficient and make it much, much harder for them to ever get a team playing in the Champions League. And then finally, in the Swiss League, Philippe Otele started in the 3-0 win for Basel over FC Winterthur. Good start to the season for him. He's got 4 goals already, I think like 3 assists in 9 or 10 games. He will also be in action in Europa League on Thursday away against Lyon. And then they play Lausanne away on Sunday. So that's it in terms of the player reviews. Starboy of the week. Because our players did not fire on all cylinders this week, I think it's only right to give the bronze medal to a player for recognizing an achievement. Alex Iwobi forgets 299 Premier League games not out, and he's not even 30 years old. And for becoming the Nigerian with the most appearances ever in the Premier League, that is a worthy accomplishment. So we'll give you the bronze medal this week. Silver medal this week, Rasheedat Ajibade for scoring his 10th goal of the season and the winner for his club side, which was his 5th goal in the league. Great start to the season as they beat Bohemians 1-0. And then gold medal this week goes to the one and only Paul Onuachu, scoring his 7th league goal of the season in the Turkish league after just 9 games. He is the top goal scorer in the league. This is a league that Osimhen destroyed all of them and was the top goal scorer by far. So it looks like this season we're going to have eventually a Osimhen versus Onuachu top goal scorer battle. But he keeps on scoring crucial goals for his team and they keep winning games. The latest being a 2-1 win over Rizespor on Saturday. So congratulations to Paul Onuachu, top goal scorer in the division, and you are the Starboy of the week. Now, to round up the podcast with the ones to watch, remember, I'm recording this on Tuesday, 3:37 p.m. Tomorrow, we'll see Victor Osimhen's Galatasaray play Bodo Glimt in the Champions League, 5:45 p.m. kickoff. We will then see Ademola Lookman's Atalanta host Slavia Prague's Igor Ugbo and David Moses in the Champions League, 8 p.m. And then George Lenkena's Monaco host Tottenham at 8 p.m. as well in the Champions League tomorrow. On Thursday, Emmanuel Uche Sparta Prague go away to Rijeka in the Conference League. Philippe Otele's FC Basel go away to play Lyon in the UEFA Europa League. Girasol's Genk host Real Betis at home, 5:45 p.m. in the Europa League. Rasheedat Ajibade Victoria Pilsen go away to play Roma in the Europa League, which will be a great test. Kelechi Iheanacho's Celtic will be at home against Tom Grass in the Europa League as well. Uche's Crystal Palace will be in action against AEK Larnaca in the Conference League. And then we will see Taiwo Awoniyi's Nottingham Forest play against Zedu Sanusi's Porto in the Europa League at 8 p.m. You can see a trend. We have a lot of players playing Europa League. All we need to do is flip the numbers. We want more players playing the Champions League and less playing the Europa League, which is what the top tier national teams have. And we are not far away from that, but we can get there. So fingers crossed. And then for the weekend on Friday, we'll see Ebenezer Akinsanmiro's Pisa go to San Siro's place in Milan in a 7:45 p.m. kickoff. We'll then have the battle of Moses Simon's Paris FC against Chidozie Awaziem's Nantes in the league, 7:45 p.m. And then Omar Sadiq's Real Sociedad, even though it's unlikely he will play, will host Sevilla's Akko Adams and Chidera Ejuke at 8 p.m. On Saturday, Maduka Okoye would start his second game of the season as Udinese play at home against Lecce, and he'll be looking for his first clean sheet of the season. As for Newcastle, they will be hosting Fulham, which includes our Nigerian trio of Bassey, Iwobi, and Chukwueze. That's a 3 p.m. kickoff Nigeria time. Of course, Paul Onuachu's Trabzonspor will be in action against Eyüpspor, 6 p.m. kickoff. And then Ademola Lookman's Atalanta go away to play David Okereke's Cremonese in a 6:45 p.m. kickoff. And then finally, for Saturday, Frank Onyeka's Brentford will be hosting Liverpool at the GTEC Stadium at 8 p.m. kickoff. And then finally, on Sunday, Uche's Crystal Palace come to the Emirates Stadium. We're hoping for good news and for him to at least get minutes off the bench. You know, at the very least, him not being in the squad is not good enough. As for Arokodare, his Wolverhampton team play Burnley at home, so they get a chance to get their first win of the Premier League season, 3 p.m. Nigeria time. Taiwo Awoniyi's Nottingham Forest go away to play Bournemouth and are doing Anthony Iraola's fantastic team. That will also be 3 p.m. Nigeria time. And then finally, we'll see Victor Osimhen's Galatasaray host Anthony Dennis's Gotsepe, 3 p.m. Nigeria time. So thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. Sure, it's a bit of a long one, but we had a lot of content to get your way. I want to say a big thank you for all the support. You know, we're on the road to 7K subscribers, and hopefully by the end of this year, we'll reach 10K subscribers on YouTube. I want to say a big shout out to everyone that's liked, shared, subscribed, watched a clip, dropped a comment. Anything you've done to engage with us is much appreciated. We're in the road towards the qualifiers in November for Nigeria, the playoffs, and of course we have AFCON coming. So please stay tuned and keep yourself locked in for all the content we have coming. Remember, we're at Nigeria Football Weekly on all social media channels except Twitter, where we are at NFW, Nigeria Football Weekly Pod. The only reason for that is the character limitations on Twitter. So thanks again for everybody, and for everybody who ever takes the time to listen to this. I do not take it for granted. I'll see you on the next episode of the podcast. I wish all your club sides all the best, and may all our Nigerian players flourish over the coming week, and may there not be any injuries. Take care, and I'll see you on episode 172. Take care and peace out.
Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to get a notification whenever we drop a video. You can also find our social media channels listed below. And of course, up Super Eagles and Nigeria, they ever carry last.